next time that you weigh cattle and you miss your weight's 20 or 30 pounds at $5 a pound, that's $150 a head you lost. So the Taurus system allows you to hit targets and allows you to pull the most pounds out of your pen. My name is Mike Faulkner. I'm fourth generation rancher here in southern Oklahoma. My great-grandfather originally settled this place in 1914. And we've just kind of continued on his tradition of raising cattle. We went from a cow-calf operation to a commercial preconditioning yard. And so today we have 6 employees here, full-time employees, including me and my 2 sons and my grandson. And so running that many cattle, we run about 10,000 head of steers a year. We look for a way to modernize and make it more efficient, more quicker. And we think the Taurus system has done that. I had a manual 3-way chute and a scale. Very, very labor intensive, very slow. And our process to sort cattle was go into the pens and you sorted by eye. And we would sort the big cattle off into a pen and sort the smaller cattle off into a pen. And then you'd go back and you sort the big cattle and pull the smallest cattle off you've seen and go in the smallest pen and sort the biggest cattle off. So that itself was kind of labor intensive. Once again, that's more stress, that's more moving on the cattle. And so we wanted a way to sort cattle by exact numbers. And so with this system, we can bring those cattle down through the auto select. We set those weights for those three-way gates we have. The system sorts the cattle by weight. And the really big thing we like is in our third cut, which is we're just 20 pounds off our main cut. If we're 10 head short, we can go back at the data that we've gathered, and it tells us what those cattle weigh we sorted in the cut pen. And sometimes you've got those cattle you need to pick up are just 10-pound lighter than your cut cattle. So once again, you went back and got cattle that weigh more, not guessing, but weigh more. And at $5 a pound today, that's a really big deal to us. When we have hard stop in our contracts to purchase, we can set the auto select to be 10 or 15 pounds off of that hard stop and get the maximum amount of dollars in our cattle in our contracts and not be over. Before we did this, we'd bring cattle in the day of purchase. They'd go on the big scales over here and we'd weigh 20 at a time. You may or may not be at your hard stop. You may give some money away because your cattle are too heavy. And so we don't do that anymore. We bought this auto select. We bring those cattle in. We sort those cattle exactly what we want them to weigh the day before market. And so there's no surprises on market day. And so today at $5 or $6 a pound, you can't be surprised. You need to know exactly what your cattle weigh on market. And so the auto select allows us to hit targets. We can set targets for weight, and we can bring a large number of cattle in here and sort those cattle to that exact number of weight we want to hit. With cattle coming in here from South Texas, South Florida, Missouri, Mississippi, Louisiana, these cattle are pretty wild. So these cattle will run over you. These cattle will try to hurt you, and they will hurt you if they run an 800-pound steer, hit you wide open. So my son and I was visualizing on where we'd put it and how it would affect our day-to-day business. And my son asked me, what does it cost to put a new hip in you if you get run over? And I said $100,000. And he said, let's buy the chute, Dad. And that's cheaper than a new hip. The sort alley is a dangerous place. If you've got a lot of people back there, your animals are disturbed, they're running. You've got people behind them, people in front of them. And so those animals are looking for a way to escape, and a lot of times it's through you. And so an 800-pound steer running at you wide open, if he hits you, you're hurt. So my friends that have been killed or hurt badly were in the sort alley. So that was the first original reason we bought the Taurus system, to get me out of the sort alley. Also, stress on our cattle is less as through the auto sort system, where we can sort cattle without a lot of stress on the cattle because nobody in front of the cattle, and the cattle walk through the scales easier. So we really like that, and I like being that I'm not around the cattle now, so I can sort and grade cattle and not be involved in dangerous situations. And with the Taurus system and the remote control entry, I still get to be chute boss and sort my cattle myself. And so it's actually once it gets started, it's pretty simple. You just have to confine a calf in the race, and the system will weigh and open all the gates and the sort gates for you about as fast as you can bring one calf into the catch in the race. And so on weigh day, two of you can weigh cattle, one pushing, one running the race gate. The computer system will do all it'll open the entry gate, it'll weigh the calf and open the sort gate in the proper alley that you want that weigh calf to go. So that's pretty simple. And the thing about it is it's exact. It's not a guess. You're no longer guessing about what your cattle weigh. But we haven't had any problems with the product. We're 3 years in now. It was plug and play. Nobody come down and helped me fix it up because they called and I hooked it up and it all worked. And so we didn't require anybody to come set us up. So it was very easy. Galvanized equipment's not real common here because it's not a salt air environment. However, being in cattle pens around cow manure all the time, it's very caustic to metal. And so the galvanized product's going to last a lot longer than the painted product is. Well, if you're thinking about buying a Taurus system with an auto select where you can weigh cattle and you miss your weight's 20 or 30 pounds at $5 a pound, that's $150 a head you lost. So the Taurus system allows you to hit targets and allows you to pull the most pounds out of your pen. And that translates into money to you. And so I think today at cattle prices, these record prices, it even makes more sense than it did when I bought it because a pound is worth $5. You need to be able to get all the pounds you have out of your herd.